Jelly. In our next program, we're going to be building not a date picker, but a data picker, or a sort of a data scroll component. So what makes this kind of tricky is this data picker. It's going to be using delegation in order to load up the data and also allow users, or allow the application to respond to the user selecting different rows. So this particular application is going to just load up colleges, different universities, Stanford University, Harvard University, Ohio State, Draper University, Singularity University. And that's going to be coming from a data source. And then we'll be building on top of this application in the next movie. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me just configure. Okay, we'll be creating a new Xcode project. And this will be a single view application. And we'll call it College Color Picker. No use of storyboards, use automatic reference counting. And then we'll create this two, because actually I've already made this. Make a fresh one. All right, yeah, you can see the screen, right, Jelly? Okay, so now we have just the single view, it's blank, and there's just this skeleton header and implementation file. And what we'll do first is we'll search for that picker. So it's not the date picker like we used before, but this is the picker view. So we'll take that and drag it onto the nib file. All right, now if we don't have any data source customized, then it's just going to load up these California cities. Let's see what happens. Maybe it won't load up anything at all. Okay, it just is actually blank. Oh, it's actually even unhappy. It just failed. So now let's go back to that nib file. And we've dragged our picker view on here. And in fact, let's add a label too. We'll just call it College Colors. And increase the size on that. Make it a bold. We can see it. All right, it's fine. We'll just center it there. Okay. And so we have a little label here telling the user a little bit what's going on. And instead of having these California cities, we want to have some colleges available to us. Now, if you recall, we need to connect this picker view with the code. The way we do that is by using the quick connections again. So we'll just hold down that control key for me, might be different on your computer, drag to this header file, and we'll just say, we'll call this college picker. All right. And in fact, we're going to be having a additional property where we're keeping an array of those colleges. And it's going to be non-atomic strong, and it will be an NS array. We'll call it colleges. And we'll be storing our colleges in that array. Let's go back to the editor mode. This is that file that we just modified. And again, we don't have to synthesize. Now let's load up this colleges array with an array of strings within view.did_load. That'll be fine within the lifecycle. So in order to access that variable, we need to say self.colleges. And we'll just use a literal array. And then Stanford University. We'll start with that. And in order to not have to watch me type oh jelly, maybe our connection had a problem. Try to come back on video. Jelly, I'm just going to continue recording since I know you can watch this a little later. So we'll be loading up this colleges array with colleges. And there we have it. Stanford, Harvard, Ohio State, Draper University, Singularity University. And that provides us with some colleges to be displayed into the picker view. And so, oh great, I see you're back. I'll just go ahead and make sure the screen is sharing. Jelly, are you with me? Can you see the screen? All right. Okay, good. All right, self.colleges. So we just created an array of strings, and that loads up data for the colleges. Now, what we want to be doing is loading in this array of strings into the actual picker on the user interface. Now, how are we going to do that? Well, if we look back at what we have here, we have this picker on our nib file, and we've connected the college picker, this guy, with the file's owner, so this view controller. And you can see that connection here. It's behaving a bit strangely. I'm going to take a look at something. Let's come back in. All right, that's better. Okay, now we'll close the objects panel. And if you remember from our discussion of delegates, this picker needs the delegate to implement some of its required functions or methods. And we can see information about that in the class reference for the UI picker view. And we see this sort of the slot machine metaphor, and it requires the cooperation of a delegate. So what are those required delegate methods? So that yeah. So UI picker. Let's start first with the data source. Number of components in picker view. So that's required. And then another one is number of rows in components. That's required. So we could copy and paste it from here, but a neat little trick that I like is going back to the class and pressing the .h file. And when we do that, we can find required methods. So looking at the .h file for that UI picker view, we can see required here. And these two methods are required. So these guys need to be in the implementation of the picker UI picker view. Now there's something I wanted to say. This UI picker view needs to be connected to the file's owner in terms of its data source and the delegate. Like right now, it's sort of accessible using that college picker here, but we also have to wire up the data source and the delegate. So let's do that. So we connect it to the file's owner. And so we're saying now this file's owner, which is view controller, are the ones who need to implement the delegate protocols for the data source and the delegate. And we can just go ahead and sort of declare that this UI view controller will be implementing delegate protocols data source of the delegate of the UI picker. So we say UI picker view delegate, okay? Then also UI picker view data source. Close it off. So that's telling us that the required methods need to be available. So we'll just yeah. So that's a way we can jump to the required methods. So we can just copy here. So these are required. We can see that there. Number of components in picker view and number of rows in component. And we'll just copy that into the implementation. All right, Jelly. So I think you just disconnected. Just to review, we we told this view controller that it needs to implement UI picker view delegate and UI picker view data source. And because of that, there are some required methods. And we've just copied in 2 required methods, and we're going to implement them now. Now, number of components in the picker view. The answer to that is it's 1. There's only 1 component in that picker view. And the component is sort of like a column in a way. There's just 1 column. Number of rows in the component. That's the number of sort of rows itself that you can scroll between. All right, now what's the value of that? Well, it's based on colleges. It's the count, the number of colleges. So we return that. Now we need to put text itself into the picker view's display. And we do that not with the data source, but with the delegate. So now we go back to the delegate, and then we'll go ahead and open that .h, and we'll be seeing the methods that we can implement in order to do what we want. So the particular method of interest to us is title for row. So that's, see, in the delegate, okay? Now we go to the implementation file, and we paste it in, and what we'll be doing is we'll be returning a string. So that's what's going to populate in that row for the picker view. So let's just return, you know, like hi jelly. That's good enough. Hi jelly. All right. We'll return that. And let's see how that turns out. It looks like it wants to, okay, it's giving us a problem. It didn't return it, so we need to, okay. And then we run that. Aha, college colors, hi jelly. All right, there, it's loading it up. And it looks like about 9 or 10 or so, which is about the count of the number of colleges, which is good. Okay, so let's try to make that more specific based on the data that we really want to be using, which is the colleges, name of those colleges. So we'll be returning a string, ns string. Got to use a code sense, I guess. All right, partial, and then tab to complete it. All right, that's fine. We'll just say college equals our data is in that college array. So we'll say object at index. And specifically, we'll be inputting the row. The row is available to us because it was passed in as an argument into this method. And this extracts the college that we're interested in. Now, we return that value, college. Let's take a look. My computer seems to be running a bit slow. Sorry about that. Here we go. College colors. Stanford University, Harvard University, Ohio State University. There, it got it. Okay, that's it. And now in the next movie, we will be responding based on the user selecting a college, and we'll be responding by displaying the color. for that college.